I'm so tired of this. I want the truth once and for all.
You can't handle the truth.
IFFY Signals, you can't handle the truth, my friend. Well, we're on here, guys, today, and there's been some, I guess, what we would call rebuttal videos, or there's been a whole crap storm of, you know, controversy hit since I showed the Rutus. And let's make this key. We showed the Rutus particularly on 3D nail unmasking test. I think that's key, right? I think this is one of the key things that we need to focus on. What we showed is a 3D nail unmasking test. What do you think about the videos that you've seen, the so-called rebuttal videos in the comments?
Yeah, so there's no disputing. Same plane is fine. I showed that in my test. The Versa hits high conductors and the mid conductors, same plane without an issue. And I haven't tested a very low conductor, but mid and high, same plane, no problem. Those seem to be the videos that are popping up. Same. Yep.
So when he says same plane, guys, he means a nail laying on the same level as a coin. The test that IFFY did that showed the problem is when the nail is elevated above the coin.
Correct. Yep, that's the video. Both videos I showed, you know, adjusting the settings and then the Nokta score hitting them without an issue. Yep.
Yeah. Well, let's look at a couple of let's look at a couple of videos. I've got one video, and then there was a Rutus video come out where a gentleman actually showed the Rutus so-called hitting a 3D test. But I want to show you guys just a little clip, and then if you'll come back and talk about both of these tests just real quick. But let me show you a couple of clips. Let me show you the legend doing something, and then I'm going to talk about, and if you'll talk about the Rutus with these negative tone breaks, or lowering the tone break down into the iron range on a metal detector. So watch this legend just real quick. Today, and I'm going to show you something in just a minute with this Roman denarius coin and this big old iron spike. All right, guys, we've got a small Roman coin down beside a big old giant iron spike. Do you think that the legend will hit that small Roman coin beside that big old iron spike? Well, let's check it out. Notice that ID in the window. This is very important for you guys to look at that ID in that window, because we're going to talk about machine sounds a little funky on that test, don't it?
Yeah, I mean, with the Legend, with the Rutus, Deus 2, Manicore, Equinox, you can lower those regions. There are a couple things you can do. You can drop that first tone bin right above the iron range to get a non-ferrous to basically raise that iron range just a tiny bit above it, so it'll pop through. But you know, that doesn't really help in the field, because iron, all different sizes, shapes, will come into those negative numbers as well. There's another thing that you can do where if you just go one tone, there's an example of a same plane test where I think Robert is his name, is showing, it's a rebuttal video. He's showing the Rutus in one tone with a negative disc of 10, and it is hitting a coin as well. So basically turning it into a one-tone machine where anything above a certain iron limit, no matter where you put it, is going to give you a non-ferrous tone. The same thing with that, though. No matter what you're searching for, iron, all different shapes and sizes, will come in above that tone. And then you're locked. In that case, you're locked at one tone. So
yeah, that's a parlor trick. it's just like with the legend there. I had the legend hitting a small Roman denarius coin by a spike, elevated that big. And we noticed that the ID on the legend was in the iron range. So let me break this down for you guys. We've been testing detectors for years, and this is a parlor trick to make a detector look good on a specific nail test. It is not usable in the field, and I don't care if the tester says, well, look, the ID's coming up -3, -5. When you go into the field, there's all kinds of different tidbits and things that are coming up in the iron range that will come in. That's why manufacturers set their iron ranges at certain levels to cover that different variety of nails. We're just going to use nails as an example to take out those nails. The Rutus guy, notice his video is very suspicious. He shows us no settings. He shows us no ID on the screen. You know, and automatically your warning bells go up. Oh, we already know. Me and Iffy's talked about lowering the tone brake. We're not lowering the tone brake on any of these machines that we are testing. We're not going to get into that because you start opening up the parameters of the machine and you don't know if you can hunt on a relic site with it set like that or not. It's nothing more than a trick. The same plane test, let's look at the rebuttal video real quick of the same plane nail test, which I'll just go ahead and say this. Iffy or me never disputed that it wouldn't hit a coin on the same plane nail, right? There's no...
That was good. That was good on the same plane. Yep.
Yep, you showed that clearly in your video on your level 1 test that it hit a coin next to a nail on the same plane. So really, why did the guy make a rebuttal video of a same plane nail test when we're talking about 3D elevated iron test? I mean, I really just want to ask these people, do you think that all of us are that stupid?
One of the comments said, Americans, take notice.
Oh, yeah. I'm taking notes because I'm going to do me a full-length video of all this crap. And really, it's not helping the company. The company needs to fix this. If they can lower their tone brake down and everything's all good, then they need to change that in an update and make the -5 the new 0 or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But let's look at the same plane nail testing here just real quick. Here's Iffy's test and my test. Let's look at this. It's 3D iron unmasking test. So let's just check this out. Then we'll look at the same plane.
Now the nickel, we struggled with this yesterday.
Elevated.
We're struggling with that one again. All right, so we'll get back to that one. Level 3 nickel, not hearing it. I'm up high, low, slow. All right, so we'll get back to that one. The dime, up high, nothing.
Elevated, same deal. Elevated nail test. Iron nail is above the coin. I find this next video that we're going to watch, Iffy, kind of like ridiculous, almost comical laughing because it's supposed to be the rebuttal video to the test that we did. I mean, how do you feel about this next clip that I'm fixing to show that, that you sent me?
Let's see which one it is.
It's the one where he's on the same plane talking about the storm that we've caused.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yeah. So you want me to click over that and let's check that out real quick, and then we'll talk about it.
Yep.
Yeah. Here we go. Check this rebuttal, so-called rebuttal video. Notice, are there any nails elevated above a coin? Check it out.
Siemanko, w związku z tą całą gównoburzą,
Apparently we caused some problems.
Online z jakimiś
Shitstorm.
testami robionymi przez specjalistów z Ameryki, postanowiłem pokazać wam, o co chodzi w ustawieniach.
He's going to tell us how to set the machine up properly to hit a nail on the same plane.
Jeśli ktoś ma trochę oleju w głowie,
Common sense, Iffy.
I zastosuje odpowiednie
You
ustawienia,
don't have to change anything. The machine does it fine on its own.
żadną prawdą ukrytą. Bo
You can get the secret settings online with no hassle. Let's look at his test, guys. Did we see an elevated nail anywhere in this test?
I suweren
Hey, that kind of looks like your test, right, Iffy?
That's a little different.
Is it a little different?
Skoczone, ale
Same principle, though, same plane, right? On the
Oh, same plane, yeah.
yeah,
same
on the
plane
level
hits it
one.
fine.
Yeah, on the level one, it's pretty much same plane.
Yeah, same plane hits it fine. Yeah.
Yep.
Wszystkie mniej więcej w tym samym miejscu kładę na początek, potem jak nie wychodzi, to odsuwam.
So he goes through 13 minutes of this crap, right?
Yeah, he does a lot of different coins, different nails, all same plane. Yep.
So he
So
goes
I asked him if he moved the tone break, or what he did is he went one tone and discriminated back to -10. So I replied back to him. I'm saying, well, I hope Rutus takes that feedback as well, because to the update, because he mentioned Rutus working on an update at the end of his reply, saying that Rutus may take that into consideration. So, you know, I took that as good info. Maybe Rutus will use his video as well and implement whatever he's doing there in just one tone, because what he did is he put the machine in one tone with a negative disc of 10 to get it to hit on same plane. Now, I didn't have to do anything for it to hit on same plane. It did fine on same plane. But he was demonstrating how it will hit better at -10 in one tone, where my tester in two tones.
So every other machine that we've tested on the market that's worth its weight in salt will hit it in 60 tones, 6 tones, 2 tones, pitch tones, multi-tones. It'll hit it in any of them. You don't have to go through this whole debacle of putting in one tone, which we didn't have to do that on the same plane test. But why didn't he show that setup on a 3D iron unmasking test? I wonder why we didn't see that. You know,
so since we've posted, there has been, you know, a few legitimate people that have tested the same way we did that have said, hey, this machine needs an update. Joe,
I got his video on here. We'll check it out in a minute.
Joe is one. He's not from the United States. The other guy there, Michael, he posted the video saying he verified it as well. So there are a few out there that are getting the same results. When they try a setup that I showed, they will see the same results as well. I don't think anyone needs to dispute it. I wasn't hiding anything. And anyway, there's only a couple people trying to dispute it. And what I would say to them is, you know, you can if you like, but the results are there. And just be happy that Rutus is looking into it, because whatever they fix, whether they adjust that tone break or they adjust their negative range to make it better, or whatever they do, is going to be better for everyone in the long run that owns a Rutus. You know, I don't own one, but I tested it and I took it through the same test that I take every machine through. And if Rutus comes out with an update that helps everyone, hey, that's great. I look forward to it for those users. Yep.
It'll be beneficial, and that's one thing when I look at people pulling these what I call parlor tricks, trying to make a machine look better or taking the tone break down into. You're not helping the company. It is clear and evident, and you can't dispute it, that what we have shown, the basic disciplines of these tests, the cheapest detectors to the most expensive detectors, pass this pretty much with flying colors or with somewhat ease, okay? Some adjustments do have to be made on some of the harder tests, the 3D iron unmasking, but the very basic test, the Rutus cannot pass on a 3D iron without possibly, as we've seen the one guy doing, lowering the tone break down into the iron range, which has you digging -3s, -5s, -6 numbers. And we can play that game with a Deus 2. We can play it with a Manicore. We can play it with the Legend, and we can make those detectors even look better than they are right now in unmasking tests, but it's unusable settings. It's not practical, you know.
Yeah. And everyone, you know, people would have saw more separation tests if it was close, you know, because the Manicore has been through those blocks, the 900's been through them, the Legend. When I got through it, I made a statement and said, you know, and I wasn't editing the video. I didn't want there to be any edits. I just said, wow, I haven't seen high-end multi perform this bad on this test. And
me either.
That's honest, you know, because I've brought them all through it. Those level 1 and level 2s, I feel, are pretty easy for these high-end machines. I didn't want to draw out a video and go, hey, look, Rutus, here's the Manicore, perfect VDI on level 2 and level 3, and here's the Deus 2. So I took out the score. The score has no adjustments, no settings. You turn it on, and it did really good. So there needs to be an update to that Versa.
Yeah,
beneficial for all of the Versa users out there. And this test is a valid test that anyone can do, and we've seen that. Joe,
let's check Joe's video out real quick. Yeah. Let's put Joe's little test up real quick. So this is Joe. He actually went and did the same. Now notice, Joe's test is like our test. Elevated iron. Elevated. Let me repeat it. Elevated iron. Not the same plane. So check out Joe's video.
Yeah. One thing I took away from Joe's too is he actually took out a few blocks. Like he didn't know where it was going to lose it. So he took a few out to try.
He's hitting it. He's hitting it right here. If you're on the same plane.
Same plane. Yep.
Yep. Okay. Here we go.
Roughly ½ an inch, slightly over.
½ inch.
So we're just over ½ an inch elevation there.
Gone.
Now we're seeing the minus numbers. Don't think you're digging that though. It's not seeing the coin.
And that could go back. Let me kick us back over to our screen.
Said on IFFY.
He showed the same results as you showed, and it went into the negative numbers. And possibly you could lower the tone break down into the iron range and get that 1 to come in. But then begs the question, what else comes in at a -1? What else comes?
Yeah, Rutus set it up that way for a reason. And if you want to put the link to Joe's video in there, it's good because Joe does go through all his settings as well. It was a good, thorough video from Joe, because Joe's initial video had the nail the long way, and it was hitting fine. And when he actually speaks to that at the beginning and goes through the whole video. Now, Joe's not the only one. I think he's the only video, but he's not the only one who spoke up and said, I tried IFFY's test and I got the same exact results. So, like I said to the people that are disputing it, we see the videos of the same plane. I'm not disputing that it hits the same plane. It does fine.
No,
it
does fine.
And if you're happy with your Versa, great. All I was doing is showing that it's struggling on 3D iron. Does it have some cool features? Sure. Would I take it out to a relic site? Not with the other options I have available right now. And that's that's why I test these the way I do. Before I go out, and there's comments come up too, test it out in the field. Well, how am I going to know what I'm missing if it's not going to beep on it? I test it here first. If it performs well, I'll take it out in the site.
And it's a basic set of what I've seen one detectors from over across the pond called disciplines. You have a basic set of disciplines that each detector has to pass before you basically take it into the field. I run the same gamut of tests with every detector I get in my hands here. One more thing that I want to speak to is somebody's talked about in the ground, and they showed that they had a coin buried in the ground, and they laid a nail up on the top. I think it was 30 centimeters from the coin, and they swept down the nail and then come off, and the Rutus matched other detectors. That's more of a recovery speed test.
Yeah.
The nail is not actually under the coil at the same time as the coin. The machine is coming off the nail, recovering, and detecting the coin. And I will say this, in that particular test, the Rutus performed a lot like what I've seen other detectors do on that particular test, where I have a 5-inch dime, a nail laying on top of the ground, nail over here, you come across the nail long ways first, and I've run that test, and the Rutus seemed comparable to other detectors. But that is not the same as an unmasking test. Let me just get that out there. That is a recovery speed test. It's recovering from the nail and then resetting itself and hitting the dime. We're not disputing that the Rutus has a fast recovery speed. We're disputing that on a 3D iron unmasking test, it is falling way shorter than any high-end machine that we've seen. I would say that's fair to say.
Definitely. Yep.
Yep. Well,
and that machine should be back to you tomorrow, so I know that you've been watching, you've been keeping an eye out on the videos that are posted.
I've been taking notes, like the guy said, IFFY. I've been taking notes. We're going to cover it all when it gets back.
Yeah. And there's a lot more to cover with the Rutus too. All I did was take it through the block test, the separation, and the unmasking, right?
Yeah.
And And that's what those blocks are for people who say that, you know, when are you going to ever come into a situation like that? That's a very popular test for all manufacturers, and that is a very realistic test for what you will come out in the field. The people that are doing same plane, that's just another question for you. How realistic is that you're ever
all
gonna
the
find
nails laying on the exact same plane as the targets.
You know, when you're digging in the ground, there's always, you know, you put how often do you put your pinpointer in the ground and it's beeping? You pull out a nail, you stick it back in, and it's still beeping. You're like, oh, another nail.
Yeah.
You put it back in, and you're like, oh, non-ferrous. That's it's always all different levels. So for, you know, the people that say how realistic are those block tests, very realistic, and it's the best case scenario because there's no ground, there's no minerals, there's no little tiny bits of iron that might come in that low negative 1, 2, 3, 4 that you're asking us to lower that negative region into. So a nail, a good sized nail, will come in negative 10, 11, 12, 13. But the tiny bits of nails that I've tested come in negative 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where you're asking to lower that first region into. So yes, you can. You could do that on any machine. I can take the Manicore and bring that ferrous limits way up, and will it unmask a lot better? Sure, but I am going to be digging nails like crazy. Same thing that Calabash did with the Legend. You can lower that tone bin and, you know, unmask a lot better. You're not really unmasking. What you're doing is you're taking a piece of, say it's this bottle cap, and this bottle cap gives a 20 VDI. Well, say you're going to change your discrimination to 22 to bring in this coin. So when you go over it, this coin's usually, say, a 40. I'm just throwing numbers. But this is a 22. So you're going to change this to 23. So now you're ignoring this. And this is coming through at a 23. That's all you're doing in those tests when you're adjusting that bin, is you're not really bringing in that non-ferrous, but you're just taking that initial target, that ferrous target, out of the range of your discrimination.
Discrimination, yes.
But there's going to be all different sizes of nails.
Yeah,
and little bits and bigger, and so you're hurting yourself more if you try and do that. It's going to make for a really frustrating hunt. I've tried it. I've tried it on all.
Yes. And what happens is I spoke with XP about the same exact thing because we were seeing these tests, and I said, look, it was to do with the program. I said, you know, people are showing this machine doing things that no other machine has ever been able to do, and there's a flaw in it. And what happens is a metal detector averages. You take a nail, just like what IFFY's showing, and you take a coin. You set the nail rings at a 5. Let's say that the nail rings at, or on the Rutus, the nail rings at a negative 15. Or, you know, and then you set the tone breakdown, and then what it'll do is it'll kick this nail up, and it'll average that coin with the nail, and it'll bring the nail out of the negative 15 range that you have it set to and make it come in, because it averages the higher conductive coin in with the nail, and it'll bump the nail up to what? Negative 8, negative 9.
Exactly. Yep.
And that's the trick.
So that's going to work. That's going to work fine for an above ground test, or not even above ground. It'll work if you put it in the ground on that particular target, on that particular nail.
Change the nail out, just like I showed the program with the Deus 2 when I took it to the field. I was digging nails, what I dig, 30 nails. I mean, just that quick, because we've seen slivers fall in, big nails. It's just whatever you're using in that particular test on that day. Yeah, you can make the machine look really good. That's what the guy did with the test that he did today with the silver coin, and he had the nail that high, a big old spike, man. We've tested some of the best detectors ever made, and you know, unless you do that, I don't know of any of those detectors, to be honest with you, that would even hit that coin laying under that spike. That'd be a pretty tough test.
That's a tough test for anyone watching the level 5 and level 4 test. A 1.5 inch raised nail above any target. I'm going to say target. That is a tough test. When you start
that guy had his what, three or 4 inches on that one? 4 inches, yeah. I
don't know, but when you start getting above 1.5 inches, there's not a machine out there right now. We'll see what happens in the future, but 1.5, a 2x4 is tough.
Yep. Well, all right, folks, we were just going to pop in here, and I appreciate you hanging out with us, and I'll be showing the Rutus in some real thorough testing, and we'll be running it through some, for all the people who don't like the wooden blocks and the concrete, we'll be doing some in-ground iron unmask testing. So stay tuned. I appreciate IFFY joining me, and I hope we explained it, and you know, this helps with everybody's curiosity that doesn't know some of the tricks of the testing. And hey, it's the world we live in. There's all kinds of things out there, and we've got to have discernment to get through them. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next few days.